All praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Harakak Wadash, and double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, who rule well and teach well. They have the absolute 144% truth, and peace, love, and citations, and safety to the hopeful elect. And Slocky about my voice once again. Still trying to get over this sickness. But it's just a cough. I feel good, but it's just a cough. I was at the gym earlier. I felt good at the gym, but I can't. I have a problem with this cough though. But yeah, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you this video, all right? And tell me this ain't Esau, okay?
Instead of having 2 arms, you have more. Sometimes a lot more. Say somewhere between 5 and 21 arms. Instead of 2 feet.
This is the mindset of this wicked devil, man. The so-called white man, okay? The carnally minded Edomites, okay?
You're equipped with thousands of tiny little tube feet. You are, by all accounts, a fairly standard starfish living your life on a coral reef somewhere just doing starfish things. And one day, you realize it's a little crowded on the reef. Suddenly, there are way more other starfish than there were before. And you're being hunted by robotic assassins. Unfortunately, you have turned out to be a crown of thorns starfish. Sorry about that. Now let's just leave imaginary starfish you here, because it's about to get a lot more stressful. See, crown of thorns starfish are relatively large, spiny, destructive predators. It's not their fault, it's just who they are. They can be found on reefs throughout much of the Indian and Pacific Ocean, including on Australia's Great Barrier Reef. And they are bad news for these reefs because they eat coral. How they do this is deeply weird for me as a human, but it's also actually pretty weird for starfish too. They extend their stomach out through their mouth onto the coral, then digest its soft tissue and absorb it directly into their stomach walls, leaving the stony part of the coral behind. Blah. Normal starfish feeding usually just involves wrapping their stomach around things so they can pick it up, or sticking it onto things like clams, which is still pretty disturbing. Now, their habit of snacking on coral wouldn't be a major problem if it wasn't for 2 things. First, corals that are already stressed out by things like changes in water temperature are more vulnerable to being fed on. Warmer ocean temperatures are becoming more common due to human-driven changes in the planet's climate. And second, crown of thorns starfish have boom and bust population cycles, where all of a sudden there can be a huge outbreak of this species. Now, as for what causes these outbreaks, scientists aren't exactly sure. They might be a natural part of the starfish's ecology. Females can produce more than 60 million eggs during their 6-month spawning season, but we also might be making them worse by doing things like overfishing the predators that are willing to take them on. And there also just aren't very many of those. Along with being unpleasantly pointy, the starfish's spines also pack a nasty stinging punch. Neither of those things seem to deter the giant triton, though. This half-meter long marine snail actively hunts down the starfish and uses its serrated tongue-like structure called a radula to tear into the crown of thorns and deliver.
Alright, see, the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, already created animals to take out, this type of starfish, alright, which preys upon an overabundance of coral, okay? And when there's an overabundance of this type of starfish, okay, the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, created this type of snail, okay, and possibly other creatures, okay, to prey upon it, okay? All right, a false balance with Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua is an abomination, okay? It's an abomination to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, all right? But Moab and Ammon and Esau and these other wicked nations, all right, which, all right, Esau is in rulership. He's totally against, everything he does is against the scriptures, man, all right? So he eats these abominable foods, these snails, these seafoods, all right, catfish, these filter feeders, these abominable foods, these unclean foods, and what does it do? It messes up the ecosystem. It messes up the sea life, the land life, okay? All right? That's why, there's problems around the world, man. So-called alien animals, all right, animals from, like a lionfish. I always bring out this example. there's lionfish in the Pacific Ocean. All right, they're supposed to be only in the Atlantic Ocean. All right, because that's where they're supposed to be. But now they're in the Pacific Ocean and they're running rampant. Okay, killing and overeating, man. Okay, and you know, especially in Florida, there's pythons, man. In Florida, they're not supposed to be there, man. Okay, now they're thriving and killing off the native life. Okay, all right, all because of Esau, man. Esau want to do his own thing. All right.
Her paralyzing saliva. And while they only eat about one starfish a week, their presence alone.
And Esau and Moab, they be eating these snails, man. Okay, without these snails, all right, these starfish run rampant, man. Okay, messing up the coral reef, which is really, it's rare nowadays, man. All right, there's not very much coral reef left. Okay.
Is enough to make the starfish avoid an area. Unfortunately, their shells have made them a target for collectors, and while they're a protected species now, they are still rare on the Great Barrier Reef. And for that reef, the combination of stressed out corals, outbreaks of starfish, and not very many giant tritons spelled serious trouble. Without enough natural predators to control the population, well, it was time for us to create one. Enter our robotic assassins, underwater autonomous vehicles capable of delivering a lethal dose of a starfish-killing toxin. Now, the first step in making these killer robots was creating a computerized system that could accurately identify the crown of thorns. They're not the only starfish on the reef, after all. Back in 2005, the designers were able to get the robot to ID the starfish about 66% of the time, but that wasn't good enough. So they started using machine learning techniques to train the system, showing it hundreds of images of starfish gathered from YouTube and from divers they equipped with cameras. That helped teach the robots what the crown of thorns looks like in its natural habitat. But finding and identifying the starfish was only the first challenge. Once they'd been located by the robot, it also needed a way to get rid of them without, killing everything else on the reef. And it turns out the crown of thorns is actually really hard to kill. Chop off an arm, they can regrow it. Cut them in half, they may even be able to regenerate from that. Inject them with poisonous chemicals? No big deal, says the starfish, because you'd actually have to hit every arm, all 20 of them, for it to kill the starfish. But then, in 2014, researchers discovered a substance that's totally harmless to us, but is super toxic to the crown of thorns. In fact, you are probably making a type of this substance inside your body right now. It's bile, that weird greenish yellow fluid that helps you digest fats. Now, the researchers didn't test human bile on the starfish. There's not a ton of it to go around. Instead, they used bile salts derived from cows and sheep, and found that a single shot of the bile was enough to kill a crown of thorns within 24 hours. Turns out bile causes a serious immune response in the starfish and damages the membranes of their cells and their mitochondria. And in more good news, fish that ate the dead starfish after they'd been injected with the bile were totally fine. So with the ID system trained and an environmentally friendly toxin identified, it was time for the engineers to build their first robot assassin. They named it the COTSbot, after a common acronym for the crown of thorns, and it worked. It correctly identified the starfish 99.4% of the time. In lab tests, it was so good at picking out the real starfish that it would just ignore 3D printed models the researchers were using to test its abilities. And it worked in real life too. The COTSbot did several hundred successful runs out on the reef. But there were some downsides. The COTSbot was a large, expensive piece of equipment that needed an expert to deploy it. It was time for an upgrade to a more compact assassin, the RangerBot. Now with bonus features. Along with its regular killer capabilities, the RangerBot is more maneuverable and able to operate for longer periods than the COTSbot, and it can run at night, which is when the starfish are more active. It also has water quality sensors and the ability to help reseed reefs with coral larvae. So it's not just a killer, it's also an important tool for helping monitor and rebuild damaged reefs. Reef restoration is actually what it's primarily being used for right now in its larval bot configuration. The RangerBot is also cheaper than the COTSbot, which the researchers hope means they'll eventually be able to.
It's the mindset of Esau, okay? Instead of looking to Yahweh Hashem Yahshai, he seeks his own will, doing his own thing, okay? Okay? So, yeah. Let me get this. This is Romans 8:22. For we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. Okay? So yeah, man. The animals, the coral reef, the earth, okay? The ecosystems, the birds, the fish, the plants, even the air, man. All right, because the earth, all right, even these stones and rocks, all right, they have spirits to them, man. Okay? All right, the frogs, all right, animals going extinct, all right? All right, this is, for we know that the whole creation groaneth, man, and travaileth in pain together until now, all right? Not just the Israelites, everybody, man, all right? Your dog, all right, your cat, all right, they're supposed to be outside, man, living like wild animals, okay? Because that's where they belong, okay? So, yeah. Wisdom of Solomon 2:6, okay? Come on, therefore, let us enjoy the good things that are present, and let us speedily use the creatures like as in youth. This is what these heathens have been doing, man. This is what this is ever since they've been in rulership, man, or even before, man. This is their mindset. All right, let us yellow it, man. You only live once. Let us use everything. Let us use the creation of Yahweh Shem Shai, how we want to. All right, don't even think about the consequences. Okay. And now look, all right, the coral reefs are endangered, man. We have an influx of these type of starfishes who eat the coral. Now, now they're running rampant, and now Esau got to deploy these these type of starfish robots, okay, to kill these robots, because Esau want to eat up the snails, okay. Esau want to eat up the natural predators, okay. And he's not just Esau, but Ammon and Moab too, and these other nations, okay. So yeah, man, I pray that this was edifying to the whole full elect. Esau, his mindset, all right, doesn't compare to Yahweh Shem Shai. The Lord already created. The Most High already created, all right, animals to take care of what Esau's, doing, man. We don't need no robots, okay. So I pray that this was edifying to the hopeful elect. All praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem HaRakak Wadash, DTA, Abad Babal. Until next time, Maseh Shalom.